You're listening to the Banríon Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to the Banríon Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net. The Banríon Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. Today is Tuesday. We'll be talking about Islam, and as it's Tuesday, we're talking about disgusting practices of Islam. Now, you thought last week was bad about the female mutilation. Well, get ready. Here's even another disgusting thing from Islam. It's called Mufakhathat. Yes, I pronounced that right. It's basically thighing, but thighing a baby. Right, now, and I will get into this and what the practices actually means. It's absolutely horrific. And a lot of these children, as I've told you last week, would be stitched up. So they're in already agony of pain. Right. So when Muhammad, it started from Muhammad. In the Hadith, Muhammad married Elisha when she was 6. And he pleased her. He pleased himself with her by calling something Mufakhathat. And by the time she was 9, he consumed sex with her. So let's get into the practice. The supreme leader of Iran said, now this is done, and people think it's all, when I started studying Islam, I presumed it was all to do with one country, one culture, or that custom, or that. It's not. Islam is Islam. It's practiced, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Hong Kong, whether it's in the Arctic. Once it's Islam, and that is it. There is no difference. Yes, there is different sects to it, but they all follow the same teaching, the same hadith, the same Quran. So don't let anybody tell you it's completely different, right? But this is the supreme leader of Iran said, a man can quench his sexual lust with a child as young as a baby is halal. Now, H-A-L-A, halal is different from the food. Halal means it's allowed by Sharia law, which is Islamic law. Now I'll get into that another stage. It basically means that all Muslims should be following Islamic law, because all Muslims say that man-made God is not as good as God's law. That's how they see it. So they reckon the Sharia law is God's law. Okay, we'll get back into what that actually means another time, but it's allowed by Sharia. And the baby should be sodomized. Now, you should all know what that means, meaning raped in the bum of the baby. So it should be sodomized. But if a man, instead of penetrating the child, so basically thighing a child is putting a man's member between the baby and the infant's child, like a small, there's no age limit from the time the child is born to an infant. Before it reaches 9, you put the male member between her thighs and basically comes with her. Now in Saudi and in Jordan and certain places it's actually done to little boys as well. And there's also something called Bachi boys, which we'll get into another time. But for today, we're just talking about Mufakhathat, if I can pronounce that. So it's pretty much discussing that basically they say you can do Mufakhathat or you can sodomize the child rather than actually rape the child or baby. But if you do, it goes on to, if a man does penetrate the baby and damage the child, he will not be charged, like there's nothing, wrong, but he will be responsible for her substance of life, so he'll have to pay for her. But that baby child does not count as one of his 4 permanent wives. The man cannot marry her sister. That's the only punishment he'll get. He cannot marry her sister. Any father marrying his daughter so young will have a place in paradise. So, meaning an orphan fathers absolutely do this to their own children, but it's what that sentence actually means is fathers marrying them off to other people. And as I mentioned, boys in Saudi and different countries in Jordan have had tying done to them. It's not illegal for men to do this. Tying to enjoy a young girl to be the age of weaning, meaning still on breast milk. Muhammad married Alicia in Mecca and brought her to Medina. He was 53. He had sex with her when she was 9 and playing dolls. And they consider Muhammad the perfect man and everything he does. They have to follow. He himself, at the time, was argued that Alicia was too young. He had to get special prophet's rights, showing that to force the marriage to go ahead. So at that stage, now it's quite normal. And now in any Islamic country, or as any Islamic girl, is considered a full-blown adult at the age of 9 years of age. So that means any crime, anything, she has to be treated like a full adult at 9 years of age. They have like a ceremony where the little girls go in. They don't really understand what's happening. Now a lot of them have already been female mutilated. So by the time they've actually get this ceremony done, so they put them in like a white hadith, and they bring them in to this, and they're all told, you are now a woman, you are no more long a child. And at that stage, she can be forced to be married, even if it's against her will. She has absolutely no rights. She is a woman, and as a woman in Islam, you're worth 2.5 times less of a man. So she can be forced into forced into a marriage. She will be forced into having sex, even if it's against her will. To engage, and there is no, that's not wrong. It's actually, they would see it as wrong for her to deny the man for having sex. At that stage, it would be her husband. Now, you can marry somebody for an hour in Islam if you're a man, of course. This is all to do with being a man. If a woman, obviously, you do anything like that, you'll be stoned to death. They go on to say there's nothing in the hadith that sets an age limit, except for the age at 9 is acceptable for Muslim men to engage in vaginal intercourse, even against her will. This is Islam. So it's quite shocking, people. It's really, really disgusting. And these are why you need to know the real truth. As we talked about last week, the Muslims will lie and deceive, and that's, totally permissible in Islam, because it is all about converting non-Muslims into this way of life. It's absolutely disgusting practice. It's even hard for me to actually read it and say it, because it is absolutely disgusting. And basically you're saying, and even when they go on to say Allah will be pleased with her, so if she gets raped, basically Allah will be pleased with her. Like, pleased with her. No thoughts on, it's very much, the men can do anything to a woman because she's got no value, she's got nothing, but Allah will be pleased for her for being raped. Like, it's absolutely disgusting, shocking. It's a horrific thing. So basically what he does is any baby from the age of weaning, she can be raped, or he. As I said, in boys in Saudi, they could be raped. They have such a thing called as bachi boys, and it's a big thing in Afghanistan. They dress young boys up as girls, and they rape them, because sodomize having sex with a younger boy before he reached pubescent age. Now, for a boy to reach, he has to be about 16. It's different for a girl; she's 9. But before that, he's considered, he's considered a boy, so you're allowed to have sex with him. But after that, after that age, he's a man. You're not allowed, because that's gay. But before then, it's totally okay, as long as he's a teenager, up to a teenager. It's fine in Islam, and they become bachi boys, and they make money from it. It's pretty disgusting. And the fact is that they consider sodomizing is not a bad thing to do. The only thing is that if you do damage the child, that you're not going to be charged. You just have to pay for her life. The only thing is, as I said, you can't marry her sister. So this is shocking, shocking, disgusting things. And to say, oh, it only happens in, countries that are, under Sharia law is completely lies as well. It's practiced in the US, the UK, anywhere that has an Islamic community. There is forced marriages going on in the UK, in the US, anywhere that has an Islamic community, this will be happening. And next week we'll be talking about honor killing, but that's something else. We'll leave it at this today. So if you have any questions, you want to know anything about it, or you want to write in, it's news@irishnews.net or irishnews.net. Thank you for listening. This was pretty hard, so I tongue-tied a few times saying this because it's quite a disgusting topic. Tuesdays are quite tough. Wednesday we were talking about Islam, but it's on a lighter subject. So this is Irish News Radio, ITV.ie. Thank you for listening on The Banríon Show. You're listening to The Banríon Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. We were talking about the disgusting practices earlier on about Mufakhathat. It's basically thawing infant babies, newborn, a day old, 2 day old. Basically, a Muslim male of any age, mature male, putting his penis, between folding the baby's thighs and coming on her, sexually pleasing himself. And it's totally allowed in Islam, in Sharia law, which is Islamic law. It's absolutely a disgusting practice, like everything with Islam. It's shocking, it's disgusting, and they don't see this as bad. A man having a quenches sexual lust with a child as young as a baby is allowed. The only thing that they say, if he penetrates the child, he will not be charged, he will not go to prison or anything like that, but he will have to look after her for her life. If he inserts her to a point where he cuts the child apart, like he rips her vagina, so there's just he rips her completely apart, he has to try to refrain from raping her. But that's more like a suggestion rather than like a command or anything. But if the child remains alive, he is to give her money for the rest of her life. Even when he sells her off to a new husband, when the child is sold off, because she's damaged. Now, the new husband can obviously go around and rape her continually, but the previous husband will have to give her money, the child money, if she still manages to somehow live through the ordeal. This is Islam we're talking about, everybody. Totally disgusting. Now, by the time she reaches 9, that is when they allow the rapist to continue on raping her. Now, before that, they say, this time, which is Mufakhathat, is to be practiced on her and not to enter her. But the Mufakhathat is quite normal to do that on a baby any age up to 9. And then after that you can rape her, but before then they prefer you to do this. Oh, you can sodomize her as well. And young boys in Saudi often get thawing done to them, and that's quite normal. But the main thing is that they try not to rape her until 9, and then she's forced into a marriage whether she wants it or not, and she is raped whether she doesn't want it or not. This is Islam, against her will or not. There is no, because women are worth 2.5 times of a man, so it's seen as a bad thing if you have a female child. It is horrific stuff, people. It's horrible, and there's oftentimes, now they tend to sell the child off quite young, but there's oftentimes that the child will stay in the house, and that the father will practice thawing on the baby girl, and that's seen as normal, and there's women who will allow this happen to their daughter as they don't see that there's anything wrong with it. They don't see anything wrong with it because Muhammad himself did it to Alicia. So whatever Muhammad did, this is where the problem is, and this is the major problem with Islam, is because Muhammad was such a sick character. And that is the big problem. That is why Muslims will go after you if you talk about him. But he was considered the perfect man, and he had sick practices, which is a huge difference. This is where the problem is, because Jesus Christ was a good man who did good things and brought humanity. Without Jesus Christ, we'd still be, in the Old Testament. But with Muhammad, he was such a very, very bad, disgusting, fucked up character that this is why these practices will happen. And today they say, oh, it only happens in whatever countries. No, it's happening here in Ireland, it's happening in the US, the UK, anywhere that has an Islamic community. You can guarantee that this is happening. Once it's in Sharia Islamic law, then it's here. It's everywhere. So it's shocking. If you've got anything you want to say or add to this, it's news@irishnews.net, and contact us if anything you want to know or any questions on this. It's shocking stuff, people. It's scary, shocking stuff, but this is Islam, and it doesn't change. By transporting it to another country, it doesn't change. Islam is Islam, and whoever tells you different are lying. And lying is totally permissive in Islam. It is lying. Islam is Islam wherever it moves to, wherever it goes. Once you have people practicing it, then you have the practices of Islam and Islamic law. Now, the only thing is, a lot of Muslims don't read the Quran or the Hadith. They just seem to wear the stupid Grim Reaper's outfit. But a lot of them, it's hard to know whether all of them actually know the practices, and lucky enough, some of them seem to not. But Islam is Islam. It doesn't change. There isn't two Islamic. There isn't two, people want to talk about there's loads of different sects. There isn't. There is Shia and Sunni. They're the main two differences. But there's very little. All the practices, in all, are done exactly the same. There isn't one good Islam and one bad Islam. There's one ignorant one that maybe not practicing it, but what we consider a good Muslim is very different what a Muslim considers a good Muslim. A good Muslim to us is somebody who doesn't blow us up and, lives like a Christian, who, practices kind of Christian beliefs, live and be good, because we're under the stupid belief that everybody is good, because we've been told that. But it's far from the truth. Before the New Testament, people weren't that good. Have a look at the Old Testament. They weren't good. Jesus Christ died and gave us humanity and taught us how to live. It wasn't that people are all naturally good. It's absolutely rubbish thinking that people are all good. And this whole secular world, we would all be fine without religion. No, we weren't. We weren't fine without religion. We weren't fine without Christianity. And we won't be fine without it. We will go back to what it was like in the Old Testament, before Jesus Christ died, to take away our sins, to show us the right way. But in Islam, even though it's 800 years, it's more barbaric than the Old Testament. It is horrific. It's disgusting. And it is being practiced wherever. It's nothing to do with country, it's nothing to do with cultures. It is Islam. Once you find Islam, whether it's in a Western country or not, you're finding these practices. Anyway, thank you very much for listening on the Banríon Show. I'll talk to you tomorrow on a slightly easier subject, again about Islam, which is never easy, but it'll be something a little bit light-hearted, because this tying of babies from the time she is born, a day to age, her life is not worth. Once she's born a female, she has no life. They put this little white thing on her at 9 years of age, and they tell her she's a woman. She'll get charged of a woman, and she will be married off whether she wants it or not. She will be raped whether she wants it or not. This is Islam.
You are listening to Irish News Radio and irishnews.net. email news@irishnews.net.
The Banríon show. Today, on Monday, we'll be talking about the financial mess. Now, to keep this station going and to keep you fresh with news of what's happening with Ireland, what's happening with the migrant crisis, what's happening with everything, pay in to a PayPal account, donate into a PayPal account to keep this, so that you can keep this station and help us grow this station to bigger and better things. It's paypal.me Irish News. Or you can pay Patron at patron.com Irish News. So PayPal me/Irish News. So donate, even if it's €5, €10, anything will help to help us make this bigger and better station, so you can get the independence and the real news. That you're not getting the brainwashed news that the Irish government and Dennis O'Brien wants you to hear. You're actually getting things that you need to hear. And this is very important, that we have an independent station that is not trying to brainwash you. It is absolutely independent, and that we're giving you these information. So please put your hand in and donate to our station and take part of it. Become part of this wonderful station that it is becoming, and it'll become bigger and better. So be part of it. Be part of this new story, and we are the news of the freedom, the Irish freedom. Thank you very much for listening.